So I was just linked to videos, and people are saying that Trump claims that Mexicans have murder genes. Now, is that true or is it not true? Let's look into it.
United States. Far off. She has no clue. How about allowing people to come through an open border, 13,000 of which were murderers, many of them murdered far more than one person, and they're now happily living in the United States. Now a murderer, I believe this, it's in their genes, and we got a lot of bad genes in our country right now. They left.
Oh, he was specifically talking about Mexicans. Hold up. Hold on. He was talking about the people coming over the border. Oh, that took away some of the plausible deniability there, goat.
He wants to go into a communist party type system. When you look at the things that she proposes, they're so far off. She has no clue. How about allowing people to come through an open border, 13,000 of which were murderers, many of them murdered far more than one person, and they're now happily living in the United States. Now a murderer, I believe this, it's in their genes.
He's talking about the people that came over the border, yeah.
And we got a lot of bad genes in our country right now. They had 425,000 people come into our country that shouldn't be here, that are criminals. And one of the worst stats, 325,000 young children are missing. Can you imagine?
It's astonishing what has happened. I can't believe anyone's going to vote for them. Now I want to turn to the campaign, and then I want to turn to Jack Smith. On the campaign.
Man, that did take away some of that plausible deniability that I was giving. I mean, it's a stupid statement by itself, but he's talking about people who've killed people. But what was it that he said right before then? What was he? Why did he talk about people who've killed people, it being in their genes?
You have good genes. A lot of it's about the genes, isn't it? Don't you believe? The racehorse theory, you think we're so different? You have good genes in Minnesota.
This is why they're hiding him. This is why they're hiding Trump. This is why he's not making as many campaign stops. This is why he's only going on to podcasts and interviews that will throw him softball questions, because his team and him himself know that the more that he's in front of the camera, the worse he looks, dude.
Falsely, the Vice President Harris was, quote, allowing people to come through an open border, 13,000 of which were murderers. That number, in fact, comes from figures which are not specifically about people who entered the country during the Biden-Harris administration. They cover any administration going back.
Damn, I just realized, look at his mouth. When this guy ages, because he's taken a long time to age. He's been pure white since I've ever seen him. Back in 2008, I feel like was the first time I saw Anderson Cooper, right? But he's gonna age. He's gonna look like a turtle, man. He's gonna look like a turtle when he gets old.
From figures which are not specifically about people who entered the country during the Biden-Harris administration. They cover any administration going back decades. In addition, that number he includes cites people who are in jail or prison for their crimes currently, or who have served their times for crimes. Back to genetics, though, it is, as we said, something of a pet subject of his. In this case, in 2020, invoking not murderous bad genes, but Minnesota nice ones.
You have good genes. A lot of it's about the genes, isn't it? Don't you believe? The racehorse theory, you think we're so different? You have good genes in Minnesota.
Joining us now is Republican strategist.
Why does it, man, it's like they have a focus group of, it's like they have a focus group and then they ignore literally everything that they say. So as a voter, do you think that this plays well for the presidential campaign? And it's like Donald Trump talking about genes and how some people have good genes and bad genes, and there's the murder gene and shit like that. And then they're like, yeah, no, I actually don't think that I like him talking about that. I feel like that's it feels wrong, feels racist. I don't know. Something about it's just not cool. And they're like, perfect. Thank you so much for your time. They give them their $10 for participating in the focus group. And then, they're like, all right, boys, roll it.
Justin Harris supporter Anna Navarro, also former Biden White House Communications Director Kate Bedingfield, and Trump 2020 campaign senior official Erin Perini. Anna, it's obviously, this is what he has done for years. talking about poisoning the blood and genetics. I mean, these are not good. These are echoes of
like they don't even know what to say. It's so funny. Wait a second. I'm sorry. It's just funny. He's at a loss for words. Like, oh, what the fuck can I say? I mean, like, we have to try and maintain at least some amount of, neutrality, but like this guy, he's making it so hard. He's making it so hard to be just a little bit. What's like the best faith way that we could talk about like poisoning the blood of America and like bad genes and murder genes. Go back to this. I got to hear him say it again, dude. Hold on. We'll start from the beginning. Okay.
Most of the former president's thoughts on undocumented immigrants are well known, including that many are rapists, killers, and the like. Today, though, that kind of thinking crossed streams, as it were, with another of his well-known beliefs, namely in genetics and breeding. Here's what he told Hugh Hewitt today in the middle of talking about murderous migrants.
Hold on. Is Donald Trump known for talking about breeding? That's one that even I don't know about.
Now a murderer, I believe this, it's in their genes. And we got a lot of bad genes in our country right now.
Can someone find me the Hugh Hewitt show with a timestamp of when he talks about this?
He also said falsely that Vice President Harris was, quote, allowing people to come through an open border, 13,000 of which were murderers. That number, in fact, comes from figures which are not specifically about people who entered the country during the Biden-Harris administration. They cover any administration going back decades. In addition, that number he includes cites people who are in jail or prison for their crimes currently or who have served their times for crimes. Back to genetics, though, it is, as we said, something of a pet subject of his. In this case, in 2020, invoking not murderous bad genes, but Minnesota nice ones.
You have good genes. A lot of it's about the genes, isn't it? Don't you believe? The racehorse theory, you think we're so different? You have good genes in Minnesota.
Joining us now is Republican strategist and Harris supporter Anna Navarro, also former Biden White House Communications Director Kate Bedingfield, and Trump 2020 campaign senior official Erin Perini. I mean, Anna, it's obviously, this is what he's done for years. Talking about poisoning the blood and genetics. I mean, these are not good. These are echoes of not good.
They're just completely at a loss for words, man. They're just completely at a loss for fucking words. It's so funny.
Yeah, in 2016, it was Mexicans are criminals and rapists and bad hombres. In 2024, it's bad genes. Look, it's the kind of thing he's been saying forever, right? He's been peddling, otherizing other people. We have seen that he blames everything on migrants and immigrants. He makes up stories about Haitians. And you can say to yourself, this is just rhetoric. This is just Trump and the stupid stuff he says continuously. People who support him say, oh, don't take him literally, don't take him seriously. Here's the problem. Because of the things he says, people get triggered. Because of the things he says, he inspires people like the mass shooter that drove miles and miles and miles to an El Paso Walmart and killed 23 people because he was hunting down Latinos. Because of the things he said, kids in school, Latino kids in school, get called racial slurs and have that trauma forever. So his words matter. His words matter, and this is just who he is.
Erin, I mean, is the
no one takes this broad or Anderson Cooper seriously, that's for sure. Well, also, no one takes you seriously, so.
Sort of language, bad genes, poisoning the blood, is that stuff moderate swing voters want to hear in the waning days of a general election?
It's not the most strategic targeted message towards swing voters going into a general election. The voters are being very clear about what they care about right now. It's about the economy and about immigration. It's about their families and their communities. And the way that politicians of every stripe and color need to be talking to them is on a humanizing level. When they're talking about the economy, it's about affordability. It's about groceries. When they're talking about immigration, they're talking about their communities and the safety and sovereignty of this nation. Make it something people can relate to and not something you need to fearmonger on. We're in the closing days of this election, and every inch matters. We're seeing young Latino voters in a USA Today poll move more toward young male voters, more toward Donald Trump. You're going to see these demographics continue to break in these late days. The message that is being delivered by both candidates needs to be strategic and smart to make sure that they're getting this done. And right now, that is not helping.
campaign continues to do this. So, I mean, they must have some belief that this works for them. I mean, does it appeal to some sort of feral brain part of, human beings?
Look, I would be afraid to even try to get inside the mind of Donald Trump and who he thinks this is appealing to. But look, does it appeal?
Yeah, who is this supposed to appeal to? Is it just like, oh, he's making people mad by talking about people's genes, and therefore, like, we like it more? Like, it feels like this is firing up his base and nothing else. Which, again, is not nothing, because this is going to be one on turnout, but yeah.
Moderate voters to swing voters to the voters that he needs to win over in the final month of this election? No. I mean, we know that immigration is an issue that does work generally in his favor, but what people don't like is exactly this kind of language. They don't like the hateful rhetoric. They don't like the divisive language. And so talking in this way, which, I think Anna's absolutely right, does it causes people to behave in really problematic ways. It also just coarsens our politics. It makes it harder and harder to actually come to solutions, which I think may be exactly what Donald Trump's trying to do here in some ways. I mean, he is the one who took the bipartisan immigration bill off the table because he wanted to keep the issue to campaign on it. He's not looking for solutions.
Yeah, here's a good question. If immigration really is as like big of a deal as conservatives make it out to be, right? And if they do care about this issue so much, why do they not, like, if there was something dire happening, why do you care who is passing it and when? If it's on the table and it's about to be passed, if it's such a dire thing, why would we be angry and like petulantly kill the bill if it's such a big issue? I don't think that they actually care. I used to think that, like, for some misguided reason they care, but I don't think that they care.